Hi everybody out there in cyberspace, I'm Sharif from productionhackers.net. So today I'm going to be talking about the best reasons to go to college and the best reasons not to go to college. So I've got 9 reasons for each side and I'm going to be going through them right now. So number 1 is networking. That is probably the most important reason that you can go anywhere where you're going to be having like-minded people focusing on the similar subjects to you or the same subject as you. And the thing is, when it's in a college and you have those facilities where you can communicate and interface with people there in person all the time and often work together on stuff, there's a lot of amazing networking opportunities where you can get really deep with your relationships with others really fast just from going through that same experience in the same place, studying the same kind of stuff with the same kind of focus and, just like-mindedness. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you can't get those kind of benefits networking through other avenues, such as through events or conferences, anything to do with your field, or places, meetups that people go to, or other kind of local communities that involve your study or your interest that you could build a career on and, more importantly, build relationships on. But I'm saying that when it comes to school, there's a lot less barriers between you and others for creating those kind of relationships, just because of the nature of going to school and studying something the same as somebody else. So that was my number 1. My number 2 is the curriculum. So the curriculum basically gives you a guideline, an idea of what the corporations, for instance, who are, or the companies that are recruiting from your major college there. Hopefully you're going to be picking a course and a field and a specialization or a career that your school is known to be teaching and good for and credible for, or else you might be wasting your time. But that's another issue. Just look at the benefits for now and weigh what the issues are in general as well to see whether it's going to work for you or not. For your specific case, it might be different. And with the curriculum, what you do is what everyone's expecting you to study if you're considered someone who's truly and seriously in that field. Which means that even if you didn't go to college, if you knew that stuff, you might be able to get the same kind of jobs as people who did go to college. And most importantly, you might not want to work for a certain corporation or certain kind of establishment. You rather maybe a smaller company. You'll have opportunities there too, because a lot of smaller companies, at one point they were in college and they were studying, and then they created their own thing. So you'll be able to speak the same language. This breaks barriers again. Also, you find out, okay, these companies expect you to be able to learn this kind of stuff. And if you can learn this kind of stuff, then you should be able to learn the current and more relevant or specialized stuff that's going to be needed in an actual company. The companies are betting that if you can figure this stuff out and get good grades in this stuff, then even if it's not completely related, although it could be in some cases, some are often disappointed to find out it isn't. But oftentimes it's very highly related or even a foundation, which I'll get into later. But it gives them that confidence, okay, you can pick up this kind of old school version of this that's harder to learn, then it's going to be easier for you to pick up the newer, more advanced version. Or he knows this really technical, more hardcore or traditional approach because he went to college, and therefore the newer, better or more specialized niche version, you'll have a lot of perspective on that, or be able to pick it up and learn and do well in it quickly. But like I said, if you know the curriculum, even if you're not going, you could know what to study. That's a great thing. So number 3 is my favorite. It's the clubs. Actually, I helped found a club with a couple other students, a table tennis club at the college, and that was a great experience. But furthermore, I even started another club on my own, so I was actually doing 2 clubs at a time. Now, I could argue I was doing a little bit too much at a time, but that's another discussion. So I found that a big advantage of doing clubs is the integration involved if you want to ever do a class, if you want to do any kind of teaching or public speaking on a certain subject which you're interested in. You either found a club or you join a club, and especially if you're the founder of a club or one of the founders of a club, you can organize rooms or even classrooms in your school or your campus. This is an advantage to someone who's not a student, who's just using the open campus for, let's say, study or some resources, the facilities and so on, or a dedicated place to study. Let's say that has a library or what have you. The extra advantage of being a student is you can actually do these clubs, have classrooms, and teach there. So that's a little tip over there to make use of the clubs. Take advantage of that. That's a really good high value of being there. You don't have to book your own classroom. You don't have to advertise your class. You don't have to get people interested and involved after the fact or have to do that all yourself. You'll be among students. It'll be easier to get people involved and interested. You'll have the facilities. You don't have to set it up. Not only that, they're going to be top quality facilities because they're meant for real teachers and real students in a full school. You don't have to take care of all that stuff. Like I said, much more integrated. Nowadays, you can connect your laptop and then you could project it, on the screen. Plus, you have a blackboard or a whiteboard. I mean, it's really, really a convenient and excellent thing that you should make use of if you're interested in that kind of thing. And clubs also will give you funding for whatever you're interested in. So even if you're doing something that's not related or involved with teaching or public speaking, you could still get funding for something that you have communal interest with others in without having to pay for it yourself. And you can grow and develop your relationships even deeper with that. So that's a great thing about the clubs. Another thing, number 4, software. And actually you can even go in further and broader and just say access. I mean access to software because, you'll have to excuse me, because I'm personally interested in software. That's the kind of thing I'm doing. If you look at Production Hackers, you see there's a lot of stuff involving entertainment and technology and just, social media and just being a media source, making the most of today's technology, information technology, and creative technology, production technology, but of course processes and ways of thinking and, ways of motivating yourself to be able to have the energy to do all this stuff, some business things. But a lot of it has to do with technology. That's why I'm looking at software. But you can get access not only to software that the school provides, but software that companies provide to students if you can prove you're a student, either for free, like for example Autodesk for instance, or at a reduced price like many software. Also, if it's not even software you're into, not even technology you're into, nothing like that, although nowadays a lot of completely different courses are going to have software involved, and it's going to play a major role. Just the benefit of being a student, certain events are for students, certain job opportunities, certain programs. Just there's so many benefits to being a student. And you get access. And the next one's documents. That one's number 4. Now, a lot of the time when you get your materials from your teacher, the idea and the intention is that, all right, I'm going to, try to memorize this or fish through these and read it to find out, what information I'm going to need for the test. Or you're working on a project if you're doing a more practical course and you say, okay, where is that information in there that I was given to from the teacher or from my notes, that basically tell me the information I need to know to actually solve this problem or finish this project. And that's all you really care about. And then once your course is done, that's it. You never look at it again. You might be smart and keep that stuff and then look at it later. But usually that's many years later, and not everybody does that. And it's quite unfortunate. I think instead of focusing on what grades you can get or how to finish that particular project for that one time for school, which of course is going to be helpful. I find even sometimes those documents and stuff, it's not all you need. Often you need a lot more than just those documents. But when you're finished school, for instance, and you actually have the time to actually learn, not just get certain grades or finish certain milestones for the school or for the programmer to get your diploma or degree, but actually to learn in depth the content of those documentations, of those courses and those things. And if you can take the time out to actually go and learn that stuff yourself, ironically, you'll actually know it better than most students who maybe got an A but who forgot it later because they were just cramming. So that's a great thing and something a lot of people might overlook. And nowadays, yes, I know a lot of it's not in a physical format, but you can download all those documents and you can keep them organized in a folder on your computer or a hard disk, right? So don't forget the documents. Take advantage of that too. Next thing is references, and I don't mean just people references. That's of course a thing, but that has more to do with networking, the first thing I brought up. But I mean references to original study material, systems, and foundational material that you might need to know sources and origins of where they're teaching from. Every teacher, for the most part, is going to have references, a bibliography, further reading, sources to where they got their information. What are they basing their courses and teaching on? Whether it be from a company or from an established educator or a well-known and looked-to educator in the industry, or even someone who basically was in the industry and then became an educator. Either way, there's going to be some valuable references where you can go and find out, okay, so he's talking about a certain system here, but he got it from this book. You might not need the book for the course to finish the course. You just rely on more specific aspects that are being focused on. But you can go back and check the original thing in depth, and then you're kind of on the same page as some of not only the old school people, but people who are really into it and serious and in depth, which is a great thing. And you want to be there because you want that perspective for yourself as well, to innovate. You need to know what happened before, and you need to know what's current. And of course, sometimes the school isn't always current, but I'll get into that later. So that's a great thing, being able to see, okay, where did the teacher get that information from? Okay, why is this system being used instead of that school in the curriculum? You can go and ask for all those references. You can look up all those references. You can do the further reading outside of school when you're done your course once again. Take advantage of that. Another thing, as I was kind of inferring, is my next point, which is foundational technical knowledge. And you might not be doing something that's as practical or as technical, but still you're going to get the foundational either principles or theories of what you're going to do, or you're going to even get, in certain cases, step-by-steps and actual experiences of doing things yourself, or knowing basically the recipes to get the results or solve the problems in your field. And not only just specific ones or certain cases from today or from yesterday, but the whole general thing and the whole foundation of it. Sometimes it's more boring to read, it's not as up to date and stuff like that, like I said many times. But if you're able to learn like the more boring and dry or fundamental version than any of the newer versions, you have a lot of perspective on it and you can learn faster. And it's easier to pick it up. And people want that. That's a high value skill for companies and employers. And it's also a good skill for you if you want to go off and let's say you want to invest in a new system or platform and nobody really knows it very well. Well, if you know something already similar, or you know the foundations or the nature of that kind of platform or system, technology or study, then it's going to be much easier for you to learn it than someone who's never studied or learned anything about the foundations or anything similar. So that's a big advantage, getting those fundamentals, having that playing field, having the same grounds to speak on about all the people who have gone and studied this stuff, or who are serious and who've been doing it for a while and are well versed in a more well-rounded way, or who respect those that do. It's a great thing to have. And so the next thing is traditional math, as I put it, but any kind of traditional schooling and teaching, whether it be like just general sort of subjects and so on, general subjects that multiple different fields might study, such as mathematics. Now you might say, but I'm not ever actually going to use mathematics in my job, whether I was doing my private business or working for a corporation in some cases, or even established like the government or something like that, or the kind of work I want to do or specialization I want to do, let's say as a contractor or what have you. Whether you're an employee, a specialist, or you're owning your own business, or you're an investor. So knowing that traditional foundational educational knowledge and going through the process of learning it, most importantly, is getting your brain working in those ways. And also it gives you an appreciation for the newer ways that are maybe not as difficult, or they're more easy to digest and understand and learn. It kind of goes into my last point about technical knowledge, But I don't just mean generally within your field. I mean about education itself in general. You go even further back on the foundations, learning things like, for example, math, arithmetic, things like that. The boring stuff that nobody wants to do, but that's the whole thing. It has a lot of value. If you're the one who is willing to do it, or you get yourself to do it, and you do it well, that gives you an edge over most people who don't want to do it, right? It also gives you a different way of thinking from maybe most people. And perhaps you didn't know that it applied or had any value until after you learn it. And then after you learn it, then you see, oh, yeah, I can use this. I've seen this with math. I've seen this with Chinese characters even. That things that you thought, you're not going to really need it as much, especially these days. After learning it, you see, actually, it was good to learn it. All right, and the final reason that you'd want to go to college is labs. So a great thing about labs is that you actually get to practice those skills that you learn and that you're studying and so on in a practical setting, sometimes with pressure against the clock. And other times you can just use labs that are open and you can practice and use those skills. And of course you might be able to do some of that stuff, let's say at home or through other resources. Oftentimes it's the best place to not only work on your own, but to work with others on lab type issues or just to learn about the subject firsthand and practically. So that's a great advantage of the schools. That's exclusive to the schools that if you're not a student, you won't be able to get access to. So those are the nine main points that are good reasons to go to college. Now I'm going to go into all the reasons you might not want to go. All right, so let's get right into it. Number one,